like our 15 millionth take.
All right, chill. We're changing the structure of this video. None of you are ever going to see the original one because it would have taken way too long to film. But we're going to do NFL Week 1 predictions instead of full team schedule breakdowns. Week 1.
Can you angle that so I can see it?
Yes. Yeah, sorry. Very, very professional production here.
Let's start with the Lions and the Chiefs.
Well, that's the first game of the season, so that's where we were going to start.
Perfect.
This Thursday, September 7th, Lions at Chiefs. Chiefs will unfurl some kind of banner that definitely did not hurt my soul when they earned it. Anyway, it's Detroit.
It's still painful for him. Really?
Detroit's going to win that game.
You think Detroit's going to win that
100%.
game? Really?
I will bet a jersey on it.
Interesting.
I will buy you a jersey from whatever team, whatever player of your choice.
If Kansas City wins?
And if Detroit wins, you owe me, I don't know, $20. But yeah, that's a game that Detroit's gonna win.
I think really.
Detroit is a much improved offense.
I agree.
I believe.
I think Detroit's gonna have an amazing season. I'm not sure if they're gonna win this game, but I genuinely believe they're gonna have a good season.
Well, so here's the kicker: Detroit's offense was unironically top 10 last year. Jared Goff was a top 10 quarterback last year for the first time since he went to the Super Bowl.
I 100% agree.
The problem was the Lions' defense.
True.
And the defense got so much better in the offseason. They tacked on C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They tacked on Brian Branch to solidify the secondary. Monty Aruorie is still there. He was always their best corner. Detroit is going to come out of the gate and bite off some people's kneecaps, as Dan Campbell very famously said in his opening press conference. And they're going to win that game 35-31.
Interesting. Here's the thing, as I think they are going to come out swinging, and I really do think the Lions are going to have an amazing season. For their sake, I hope they do. Because I really think they deserve it. Like, I don't say people deserve things very often, but I really genuinely believe that the Lions deserve to have a good season. I think Lions fans deserve for the Lions 100%. To have a good season. Because if you're still a Lions fan now and you, did it, good for you, bro.
Seriously. Good for you.
I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Congratulations.
Next up, Bengals-Browns.
Bengals-Browns.
Clash of the teams to not root for.
Yeah, I hate both of these teams.
Cincy. That one feels like an easy Cincy win for me.
I just can't let Deshaun Watson win, so I'm also going to say Cincy. I hate Cincy.
I don't think Cleveland's going to go 0-17 as much as I want them to, because, dear God, does Deshaun Watson deserve it. Cincinnati is Cincinnati. They've gone to, in every year that Joe Burrow has been fully healthy, they've gone to the AFC Championship game, which is only true for one other team and one other quarterback. You might be familiar with him. His name is Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, I thought you were about to say Jalen Hurts.
No, Jalen Hurts was the full-time starter in 2021. Eagles got bounced in the wild card round.
I think that Joe Burrow, as much as I don't like his face, I think that he's going to play great. I think that he's going to come out swinging. I think that the Browns are going to be making sure, pinching themselves to make sure they're still alive after what abuse they are about to take.
Plus, anyone who watched the NFL last year knows that Deshaun Watson absolutely shit the bed every time he touched the field. And it's going to take him a couple weeks to get used to real NFL game action again. So they might start 0-2, 0-3. They might start 1-1. They might start 3-0. It really just depends on how quickly Deshaun Watson gets reacclimated to NFL speed.
Yeah, listen, I think we both agree that it's going to be Cincy. I hope it's a blowout.
Texans-Ravens.
See, I've become an honorary Ravens fan this year, even though I'm born and raised in Maryland. I've just never I liked the Ravens, but I was a Cowboys fan. But I think that I gotta go with my home team here.
Yeah.
I think that OBJ is gonna come out. So I think that he is ready to have a great season. I think he's gonna have one. I think OBJ is gonna go out there and ball out because he literally was. He genuinely believes that he's gonna go until the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
And I think he's gonna give everything to Baltimore because he knows he doesn't have a lot of time left. So he's not saving himself for the rest of his career. Now he can just go out there and ball out until the wheels fall off.
Right.
So I think he's gonna go out there and play like a beast. I think that I really hope that Lamar doesn't do what Dak did and get paid and can that suck worse. I love being a Dallas fan. Get that as a soundbite.
I think you're right. I think it comes down to, so here's the thing with the Ravens. The past few years, they've had a Super Bowl caliber roster, right? Really, since Lamar won his MVP, they've arguably had a Super Bowl caliber roster purely because of their quarterback. The problem is the wheels fall off. Every year, a bunch of key players get hurt. And for those of you who missed the story on the wheels falling off, Odell Beckham Jr. signed a 1-year, $18 million deal with the Ravens, at which point his former coach, Rams head coach Sean McVay, detailed a story where OBJ went into the medical facility and McVay told him that he didn't have an ACL, and Odell responded with, "We going until the wheels fall off." So he might have 1,800 yards in week 1. Plus, the Texans will be good in a couple of years.
I think they need to build.
Way too young to be good right now. I think that the biggest mistake they made was trading away their first-round pick this year to Arizona.
I agree, but I also think, didn't they just get a new head coach?
D'Amico Ryans.
Yes.
Actually,
he's going to be good. I really like D'Amico Ryans. However, I think that you got a new head coach. You got a ton of young players. I think that they are the Bears and the Lions a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I think that they need a couple years. So if you're a Texans fan, I'm sorry. This season is not going to be good for you. I think that you might win maybe 2. You can't be worse than last year is really where I'm at.
I think when I went through and did my personal schedule prediction, I had them winning 3 or 4 games. Which felt fair to me.
Yeah, I think that they're going to have a better season than they did last year, but I also think that bar is in the basement.
Yeah.
I think that there is no way to be worse than you were last year because, dear God.
Up next, we got Bucks-Vikings. I like the way that the Bucks roster is constructed.
Kirk Cousins is currently my fantasy starter, so I really, really hope that the Vikings win.
Top to bottom, the Vikings roster is better than the Buccaneers.
Amen.
Buccaneers should be a good team by the time that Baker Mayfield finds his groove about halfway through the season.
We just talked about that, yeah.
For now, that's a Minnesota blowout. That game reads to me like a 48 to maybe 14 if Tampa is lucky.
I agree. I think is it week 2 that they play the Bears?
Tampa plays the Bears.
Tampa plays the Bears in week 2. It is week 2. I think that Baker needs to find his guys. I think he needs to get that chemistry with Mike Evans. He needs to get that chemistry with just the whole team, honestly.
Right.
But I think that the Vikings defense is not the game to do that. And I just think that the Vikings. Is it a home game for the Vikings?
It's a game in Minnesota. So
okay,
the team on the bottom is the home team.
I just think that that's a home. The Viking fans are scary at home. Personally, I'm a little afraid, and I've never even gone anywhere. No, that's a lie. I've been to Minnesota, but I don't want to go anywhere near the Viking Stadium on game day because I think I might actually be burned at the stake for something. I don't know what it'd be, but it'd be something. So I think that the Vikings, I think it's going to be, I agree, I think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think the Vikings, again, we talked about the Bucs defense was their weak spot. Even when they had Tom freaking Brady, they were still losing games, and it was because of their defense.
They lost games because of their defense last year.
And I don't think that defense stands a chance against the Vikings offense.
Speaking of defenses that don't stand a chance, it's Carolina at Atlanta. Two teams with notoriously weak defenses. However, it is the battle of the number 9s at quarterback. It's first overall pick Bryce Young versus second-year quarterback Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati.
I know how you feel about Desmond Ridder.
I like Desmond
I know
Ridder.
You do. So here's the
but
I also know you like Bryce Young.
I
so then
like
comes
Bryce
down
Young
to
more than I like Desmond Ridder, but it would not have surprised me if Desmond Ridder had been a first-round pick. I think really you could have taken anyone from the 2022 draft class and supplanted them for Kenny Pickett as a first-round pick, and I would have been okay with it. I think the Falcons are going to surprise some people this year. I think that Arthur Smith finally has the system in place that he wants. You've got Bijan Robinson. You've got Cordell Patterson.
I think that Bijan's going to be a huge, huge step up for them.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be a battle of the quarterbacks, but I think you're right. I think Bryce Young is going to.
Well, we've got Desmond Ridder throwing to Drake London and Kyle Pitts. You could not build a more video game style offense if you wanted to. Those two guys are massive. They're not elite separators, but they've got great body control, great hands, and they're going to be able to catch pretty much any pass that you throw their way as long as it hits their hands.
The next game is going to be way more fun to talk about, though, and that is the Cardinals at FedEx Field to play the Washington Commanders.
Fun fact, for the first time in, I believe, half a decade or more, FedEx Field is sold out for a Week 1 game the minute after Dan Snyder leaves, and that's not a coincidence. This is also a game that the Commanders are all but guaranteed to win. Every game that we talk about the Cardinals this season, unless they do something crazy with, oh, that's right, Josh Dobbs as their quarterback, it's not going to happen. Arizona is blatantly tanking. They want Caleb Williams. They want Marvin Harrison Jr. They're going to have 2 top 5 picks.
Yeah, honestly, I would honestly, yeah. This is a throwaway season for the Cardinals. I think everybody knows it. And good for them.
Moving on. Jacksonville at Indianapolis. Trevor Lawrence coming off the first playoff appearance of his career. The prince who was promised, as Pro Football Reference dubbed him. I don't know why. Versus AR5. He's no longer wearing 15, so it's Anthony Richardson, who
You love Anthony Richardson.
I adore Anthony Richardson. This is going to be a blowout win for Jacksonville.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I love Anthony Richardson. He's got
to find his footing. He's got to find his footing. I think he's got to take the chance to just kind of fit into Indy. I think he's kind of innocent, like we talked about with Baker Mayfield earlier.
Right.
He's going to have a decent season, I think. I think he's just got to find his footing. And right now, Trevor Lawrence has his footing, and he's a playoff contender, and I just think that the Indianapolis defense is not going to know what steamroller just dug them into their own turf. Interesting game that I'm actually actually kind of excited to see how it's going to play out is the 49ers and the Steelers, because I hate the Steelers. Okay, I don't like them. Screw the Steelers.
Typical Dallas fan, am I right?
Yeah, but
you
also
hate the Niners too. Wait.
Yeah, I know. I hate both of these teams. I hate both of these teams. I think the 49ers are actually kind of set up to have a decent season.
The Niners ran with 3 different quarterbacks last year and made it to the NFC Championship game.
Right.
I feel like I could probably throw 5 passes in that system and complete at least 3. I think that's actually going to end up being a pretty big defensive battle.
I think it is too.
I think that the fact that the Steelers have their top-tier edge rusher and the Niners don't, TJ Watt versus Nick Bosa, is going to decide the fight in favor of Pittsburgh. I think that's a Pittsburgh win. Niners are set up. Until they've got Nick Bosa, they're not going to win any defensive contests.
I think I have to agree. I think that here's the thing, is I think that the 49ers, they were the team to root for last year, even as a Dallas fan, because of Mr. Irrelevant.
Right, because
they had Brock Purdy, and I think that Brock Purdy is going to put up a pretty big career. I think he's going to have a great career. I hope so. For his sake, I hope he has a great career. And I really do think that he is somebody that we're going to talk about when we talk about the history of football.
Right.
He is going to come up in those conversations because he is part of that history now. And he's a big part of that history now, as Mr. Irrelevant had a great playoff run.
Had a great playoff
until he was taken out.
Hassan Reddick beat the shit out of him.
Yes.
The next game that we're talking about is a lot tougher to call. Titans-Saints.
What a fall from grace.
Healthy? Is anyone on the Titans going to perform at all? Are the Titans ever going to find their young late-round quarterback? They've got Malik Willis. They've got Will Levis. Are they ever going to find their next franchise quarterback, or are they stuck with Ryan Tannehill forever?
You want to talk about a team that doesn't know how to play football.
No, they know how to play football. They just know how to play 1950s football. Yeah, they will run it up the gut. They'll run it out. They will run because they have Derrick Henry, and they don't really need to do anything else.
If there is a person in the NFL that's going to be able to stop Derrick Henry, I think it's going to end up being that defensive line. I think Brian Bresee and the Saints defensive line are going to play lights out this year.
I would argue that if anyone in the NFL could stop Derrick Henry,
it's going to be the Eagles defense.
6'6", 360-pound Jordan Davis.
Who does he play for?
Plays for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Just checking. I think,
but 6'6", 360 against 6'2", 240.
I think if you want to talk about this is also, it's one of those games where it's one side of the ball is going to be much more fun to watch than the other, and I think it's going to be really, really fun to watch that Tennessee offense go against that New Orleans defense. I think
I think the Saints defense is going to beat the shit out of the Titans offense. Titans added DeAndre Hopkins.
That's what's going to make it fun.
I don't think it matters.
That's what's going to make it fun.
Marshawn Lattimore will lock down.
I am telling you,
DeAndre
that's
Hopkins.
what's going to make it fun. It is going to be so much fun to watch the Saints make a joke out of the Tennessee offense like every team did last year. Okay?
Including Philadelphia.
Whatever.
Hey, Tennessee, do you miss A.J. Brown yet? Do you remember when you traded him for a first and a third, and then he
didn't take a
absolutely
quarterback?
bitched you, and then you signed DeAndre Hopkins to more money than A.J. Brown, who is a decade younger, was looking for? Did you guys have fun with that one? Was that fun for you? It was fun for me. I got a lot of enjoyment out of that one.
The answer he's looking for is no, by the way. Okay, anyhow, the next game, we're just going to move on.
Yep.
We're going to move on to the Raiders and the Broncos. I think that Denver is such a fascinating team. I think that week 1, they're not going to play well. I think it's one of those teams that I think you need to give Sean Payton a little more time with Russell. I think that, but also you're talking about the Las Vegas Raiders.
So here's the thing. The Broncos won some game last year, not because of Russell Wilson. We all know how bad Russell Wilson was in 2022. We don't need to recap it. But the Raiders' starting quarterback is Jimmy Garoppolo.
He's so pretty, though.
He's so pretty. When he's on the field, when he's healthy, all he does is win. But also, this is a Broncos defense that if the offense had scored exactly 18 points in every game they played last season, Denver would have been a playoff team.
Sure.
This is an incredible defense. Pat Surtain is phenomenal. Justin Simmons is incredible. Their secondary is damn near unbeatable. They locked up Devontae Adams twice last year, which is not easy to do if the Broncos offense shows any semblance of life whatsoever.
I think
it's
the
a
Vegas
win.
yeah.
And I think
And they're playing at home.
It's a home game for Denver. They're in the Mile High City, which makes it much tougher for opposing teams. That's a Broncos win to me.
I 100% agree.
Now we get to the game that I'm most looking forward to. Can you tell me why it's the game that I'm most looking forward to?
Because it's the Eagles and the Patriots.
That's not why. It's because it's Tom Brady's jersey retirement ceremony, and the Eagles are going to shit all over it. Bill Belichick came out and said a couple hours ago that he was ready to stop Jalen Hurts in the RPO and that he was going to, quote, force Hurts to pass. Jalen Hurts, by the way, only the best pocket passer in the NFL last season. Go ahead, Bill. Make him throw. I dare you. Make him throw. Eagles blowout. Easy.
Yeah.
Mac Jones, solid in his rookie season. Way less good last year. Former Texans head coach Bill O'Brien is now
who
the
else
offensive
played
coordinator.
like that? Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott.
Good rookie season. Bad everywhere else.
On to Rams Seahawks. This one's going to be a lot of fun.
I agree.
Matt Stafford is in what's probably his last chance to be a consistent starting quarterback. If the Rams have a losing record by midseason, it would not shock me if Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald were traded. And then it would not shock me if Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, and Sean McVay all retired after the season. This is their last shot to be relevant. Obviously, selling their soul for a Super Bowl worked. They beat the Bengals. But Seattle stunned everybody last year by actually winning the Russell Wilson trade, which no one thought was possible.
Strong weapons. And Geno just, good for him, man.
Yeah.
I've said this to you so many times. Good for Geno Smith. I think that he should just absolutely, everybody looked at Seattle and looked at Geno and said, well, that's going to be embarrassing. And Geno said, you know what? I'm going to have my cake and eat it too.
Actually.
And I'm going to go play like a fucking dog. Geno Smith is smart, and so is the rest of that offense. And I think that they're just going to go out there and just have a really, really, really strong season. I love Pete Carroll.
Yeah, it's
I love him.
Something to note about the Seattle team. For as much as we talk about potential Rams retirements, this might be it for Pete Carroll. This might be his last ride, not because he's on the hot seat. I think that he secured his job as the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks for as long as he wants it after he made the playoffs with Geno Smith.
Frickin' Smith.
But he might retire. He's an old man. He's in his 70s.
And honestly, I think I think that they're going to win a lot of games, and I think that regardless of the outcome, I think that he's going to be proud of those guys.
Yeah.
And I think that there's going to be a lot to be proud of this season. I think they're going to work their asses off, and I think they're going to play like lights out. I think they're going to have a lot of really great games. This is this is a home game for them.
Yeah.
So they're going to be out in Seattle. I think that they play really well when they're at home historically. I think that they just love that atmosphere. I think that Pete Carroll has I'm sure that they all kind of have that in their minds that this probably is going to be one of, if not the last season for Pete Carroll. And I think that they're going to go play for him because they all love him.
Yeah.
You can tell with a lot of coaches. I mean, we've seen a good amount of coach turnover, especially in the last couple of years. And I think that Pete Carroll has just been one of those guys that's just been there and been a concrete pillar of that program for a long time. And I think that those guys go to Seattle because they like to play for Pete.
Next should be a lot of fun. Dolphins Chargers. This is the battle of 5th overall pick Tua Tagovailoa from the 2020.
We want to talk about somebody
draft.
who has something to prove.
And
you talk
6th
about Tua.
overall pick from the same draft, Justin Herbert, who also has something to prove. Right?
Yeah,
Tua's got to prove that he can stay healthy and that he can process the field the same way that he did before he got concussed 1,000 times last year. Justin Herbert has to prove, and it is a make or break year for the Chargers. He has to prove that he can get to the playoffs and win. And that's not just on his shoulders. He has had historically bad defenses. In spite of all the free agent support, in spite of all the draft support, his defense can't stay healthy. And because they can't stay healthy, they can't produce. He has had historically awful defenses to start his career. He finally dragged them to the playoffs with a league average defense last year. And then he blew a 27-0 lead. And that to me is the real kicker. That's why Justin Herbert's got something to prove. He's about to get paid if he hasn't already. I honestly don't remember whether or not he signed a contract. But he either just got paid or he's about to. And either way, like it or not, he doesn't have any of the accolades that the other guys who just got paid do. Lamar won an MVP. Burrow and Hurts both went to the Super Bowl, also both from that 2020 draft, right? Tua just had the first good season of his career. He's got something to prove before he gets paid. Herbert just had a third great season in his career, but he's got to prove that he can win in the playoffs. Yeah. Justin Herbert is maybe the Chargers version of Dak Prescott. Elite regular season quarterback, cannot win when it matters most.
I would argue that Dak Prescott was elite in the regular season maybe twice. I would argue he's top third, but I would argue he's not elite. I don't even think that it necessarily matters.
It matters to win, but if it's a 49-42 game, it matters a lot less who ends up winning.
And more matters, it's going to matter how he plays.
Right.
And I think that the same goes for Justin Herbert because we've talked about supporting casts this whole time, but you want to talk about two guys that have the talent but just have very little support around them. You're going to look at the two of those guys.
That might be the worst take you ever had.
Really?
Tua's got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. He's got an offense built on speed.
I take it back. I forgot which teams we were talking about.
Justin Herbert's got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. And, oh, by the way, everyone's favorite fantasy football running back, Austin Eckler. These are two guys with supporting casts.
I was more talking about the defense.
Tua had the defense last year. Herbert kind of had the defense last year. But you are absolutely right. To this point in their career, barring last season, neither one of them really had a ton of support. And they've both got to prove that in spite of that or because of it, they can win this year. Right. Patrick Mahomes has won despite subpar performances from his defense. If Justin Herbert is really as good as Chargers fans claim he is, he should be able to as well. Packers-Bears. We talked about this one earlier.
In great detail.
I've got the Bears winning. She's got the Packers winning.
And I think my argument...
it's just a quarterback issue. I like Justin Fields more. She likes Jordan Love more.
It's less that I like Jordan Love more and more that I just think that if you're going to compare the two teams, it's going to be the battle of you've got the third-year quarterback that's still developing, but I think this is going to be his breakout year. I agree that I think that Justin Fields is going to have a great year. But when you talk about Jordan Love, that has learned from Aaron
Aaron
Rodgers.
Rodgers.
And you hear from any guy that has ever played around Aaron Rodgers, that man is a teacher. He loves to teach. He loves to share what he has to do. And I don't think that the Packers would still be rolling with Jordan Love had they not believed that he learned from Aaron Rodgers. I really don't.
No, that's fair.
And then it really does come down to the defenses. And I think that the Bears just have a really young defense that if this was a Week 14 matchup, we'd be having a completely different conversation. But because it's a Week 1 matchup, I think that the Packers defense is more established. They're more experienced. And I just think that if you're going to talk about those quarterbacks going up against that defense, I just think that Jordan Love and the Packers offense are I just think that age is going to matter in this game. And I think that it goes to the Packers.
Yeah, that's fair. Speaking of age mattering, a nearly 30-year-old quarterback who's won 2 playoff games in his career versus a nearly 27-year-old quarterback. I want to say Jones is 26, who has won exactly half of that.
And if you haven't picked up on
it, the time.
We're talking about Cowboys-Giants.
Cowboys-Giants should be either a blowout or a great game. I think it's a game that Dallas wins easily. MetLife Stadium is not the toughest environment to go into to win. The Giants are a good team. They're going to be solid. You're looking at an 8 or 9 win team. The playoffs were a fluke. Let's be completely honest with ourselves. Saquon Barkley staying healthy, at least based on the rest of his career, was a fluke. You're not going to get that again, and because of that, Daniel Jones isn't going to be as good. Adding Darren Waller helps. Darren Waller's a top 5 tight end when he's healthy. He's a top 3 tight end when he's healthy. Kelsey, Kittle, Waller, when the 3 of them are all healthy. The problem is Daniel fucking Jones.
100% agree. But I also think that this Cowboys team is you will never catch me saying that one phrase that we talk about because it just simply is not. However,
what phrase are we talking about again?
I won't say it. You can say it. You won't catch me dead. I refuse. Open letter to Cowboys fans. Shut the fuck up. Our final game.
In a 24-hour turnaround for the MetLife Stadium crew, they will have to turn it from Giants into the New York Football Jets. Big storyline out of New York for the Jets this year. Little quarterback change. I don't know if you've heard of the guy, but his name is Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
And
I've actually never heard of the guy.
Jets general manager Aaron Rodgers has basically just turned them into the New York Packers. Right? He dragged over Alan Lazard. He dragged over Adrian Amos. He dragged over Randall Cobb. Blanked on his name for a second. He also dragged over 4-time 1,000-yard rusher. I think I'm right about that. Dalvin Cook from the Minnesota Vikings. The biggest mistake that Minnesota made was getting rid of Dalvin Cook, and New York's going to capitalize on it.
I think that the Bills are going to have a great season. I think that Josh Allen he's going to be on kind of a revenge tour from last year. I think he's going to play great. I think that the Jets are absolutely going to whip their asses.
Yeah.
I don't think that
I don't know about whip their asses, but I think it is a Jets win.
I think that the defense is going to, yet again, put Josh Allen in his place. I think the Jets are going to have I think that the Jets, honestly, I agree. I think it's Super Bowl or bust, but I think that they have a really good shot.
Yeah.
I think that they've got a really, really great team, but I also think that this is going to be the year.
So long as Aaron Rodgers doesn't completely disappear in another conference championship game. Either way, should be a super interesting year for all of these teams. I'll be interested to see how the rookies play. I'll be interested to see how many of these we got right.
Yeah, if nothing else, it's going to be a fun first. This is a really, really interesting first week, and I can't wait to watch. And we'll be back next week.
We will be back next week.
To recap whatever the hell is going to happen. We'll see if we're right. We'll see if we're not. And we'll get
Most likely not.
Probably not. I'm always wrong. I'm always wrong, and Cooper is wronger.
Yeah.
So, but we'll be back with some recaps and maybe have some more friends to talk about it. Probably
Hopefully.
not, though. No one really likes us.
I would hope that we get at least one more person.
I would hope so. Maybe Zach.
Zach.
Yeah, so that's been the show.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.